Hi people, this is Levi. I just watched Lada's weekly forecasts. She talked about the upcoming new moon in the sign of Cancer, which is very interesting. And I thought I'd make a quick video to highlight the sign of Taurus as well, because Taurus receives influence of three manifesting planets. And this is applying Jaimi's second source of strength, which is a Jaimi technique that is given in Jaimi Upadesha Sutras. I won't go into the technicalities of it here, of course, because it's a general forecast. But when Mercury, Jupiter, and the Lord of a sign, Rasi aspect that sign, they give it manifesting strength, okay? So Jupiter and Mercury are Rasi aspecting the sign of Taurus, right? Mercury from Cancer, Jupiter from Libra. And Venus is currently transiting the sign of Taurus, its own sign, okay? So there's three manifesting planets, Rasi aspecting, influencing Taurus. What does it mean, right? Because Taurus is going to be a house in your horoscope, right? We're going to look at, what Taurus rules from your ascendant sign. And in Taurus, there's going to be house cusps, probably, okay? Not necessarily, but, there's going to be house cusps in there. Probably, right? So house cusps represent the focal point of the house. They are like the densest region within the house, okay? So they represent the body of things, the concrete aspect of the house, the concrete body of the house. So the fifth cusp, for example, can represent the body of the child. The seventh cusp can represent the body of the spouse. The second cusp can represent the money, etc. Okay, so you can check this out on Lada's website, and enter your details in the birth chart calculator and find out what cusps, house cusps, which are indicated by Roman numericals, are falling in the sign of Taurus there, okay? Taurus is going to manifest, right? It's happening between 21st of June till the 5th of July, okay? And simultaneously with the new moon, okay? So sun and moon are coming together in the sign of Cancer, the king and the queen, okay? New beginnings, right? And then in Taurus is under great manifesting influence. Taurus being the original second sign of the zodiac, which has to do with material manifestations, right? And enjoying, the worldly, the material existence, we could say. It's ruled by Venus. Venus is the diplomat, right? Venus goes from country to country to seal deals to make the kingdom, which is the sun, a better place, okay? Venus soothes, and so on, okay? So Taurus is very much about that, right? Material manifestation. So that's why I wanted to kind of emphasize this in this forecast, okay? So whatever Taurus represents for you is going to manifest over the two coming weeks, right? Now, at the same time, there's two separating planets aspecting the sign of Taurus as well. Separating planets are the Sun and Saturn, and also the 12th lord from any sign, okay? So the 12th sign from Taurus is Aries, and Aries is ruled by Mars, right? So Mars from Cancer, its debilitation position is Rasi aspecting the sign of Taurus there as well. And the Sun is in a separating factor. This is also given in Jaimi Upadesha Sutras, okay? Sun is a noble factor. So Sun is going to separate you from certain aspects that sign represents, that house represents, okay? But it's going to do it for the noble reason, which means it's going to do it because your soul needs to grow. And so the Sun is the king, right? And the king is dry, and the king just follows its natural inclination, its inspirations. And so that's why it's able to separate you from those things in respect to that sign, the sign Rasi aspect. In this case, it's Taurus, right? So I will be going over all signs from the ascendant, right? So from look at it from the ascendant sign, right? Mars is the 12th lord, and the 12th lord has to do with the losses, right? Losses, expenses, we say the 12th house. But you see, in order to elevate, we need to let go of the old, right? We always need to let go of something to become higher, we could say. And so Mars is going to do that from Cancer, okay? Mars is the planet of logic. Mars is your energetic system. Mars is, is about action, about getting the job done as quick as possible, we could say, okay? And in the sign of Cancer, in the water sign, Mars tends to become emotional rather than logical, you see? And so there could be some of that in respect to what Taurus represents in your horoscope, although it has such great potential manifesting, although it has such great manifesting influence, at the same time, Sun, a noble separator, and Mars, the 12th lord of, letting go before you elevate, are also playing their role over these next 2 weeks. And we know that Mars is a player because it's coming close to its opposition with Pluto. And when Pluto is around the corner, things get a little more intense, okay? But interesting to watch what's going to happen during the new moon, right? It's all happening during this this new moon in the sign of Cancer. Okay, so what does it mean for all signs? Okay, let's start with Aries ascendant. For Aries, it's happening in their second house, right? What is the second house? Okay, so the first house is the body, the life path, okay? The second house is here below, supporting the first house. So everything that supports your life path is seen from the second house. Resources, your wealth, the money you make, also gems, jewels, collections, all types of wealth, we could say, seen from the second house. The food you take in, okay, your speech, the name you get from your ancestors, second house. Your responsibilities and your self-value grow from that, right? Okay, so the second house is also more on an internal level, representation of that. So everything that supports your life path, close friends, your close family, okay, all indicate the second house. Also, the second house has a death connotation, okay, it's a Marga house. So process of death are also seen from the second house, because when you stop being responsible about the things you care about, they vanish out of your life, right? They go away. So in that sense, the second house has a death connotation. So this is happening for Aries ascendant. So things in respect to also finances, of course, right? Everybody knows it's the house of resources, what you need. And so money is so important in our world, okay? So in respect to finances, things are definitely under manifesting influence, right? And also some separating influence. So see how it plays out for you, how you can mix those combinations, how it plays out, okay? So over these 2 weeks, right, between 21st of June and 5th of July. Then for Taurus ascendant, it's happening in their first house. What is the first house? The first house represents your body and your appearance. It is your natural inclination, okay? The first and the 10th house are associated numerologically, okay? They both have this number 1, okay? The 10th house more has to do with your obligations. The first house is both trine and an angle house. Trines are associated with dharma and inspiration. Angles are associated with action. Okay, so the first house is the only house that has both. It's both an action and a trinal house, a trine house, a dharmic and an inspirational house. That's why it's such an important house, and it represents your real career, we could say, okay, your natural inclination. So big time, manifesting for Taurus ascendant, okay. Then also the first house, it represents your ability to cognize. It represents your strengths and your weaknesses. Okay, so health-wise, this could play out on a level of health for Taurus ascendant as well. So there's some good influence there, right? All these benefics throwing their aspects. Okay. Also, because we're talking about Taurus sign, right? Taurus has to do with manifestation, as I mentioned. So when we talk about Gemini astrology, Gemini deals more with the framework of things, like Will I have children? Yes or no? Will I marry? Yes or no? Will I become successful? Right? The Gemini Raj yogas are really determining a person's worldly success, we could say. Okay, so Gemini deals with the framework of things. Okay, not with so much with the ups and downs within the framework, but it's clean cut, yes, no, this kind of thing. Okay, so when it's, those three influences aspect that sign, it's going to on a concrete level give some fruition, some manifestation. Okay, and so in that sense, I think for Taurus is going to be can be important 2 weeks, coming 2 weeks, especially with the new moon there, which is happening, in their third house, which has to do with learning new skills, and it's also a growing house, a Upachaya house. Can deal with so many things with courage and will, mainly like self-will. So strong Taurus happenings there for the first house, right, for the ascendant there. Then for Gemini ascendant, and this is happening in their 12th house. 12th house represents vacations, right? Planning a new vacation, long-term investments, ashrams, so isolated places like hospitalization, also imprisonment, even places of refuge. So like, for example, there's a lot of people that need to study right now in this period. Right? So there's a lot of examinations, etc. So a good time for Gemini ascendant to, be alone and just dedicate themselves to their study. So 12th house is also that 12th house is also related to bed pleasures. Okay, so 7th house has to do with sex, is the house of sex. 12th house is bed pleasure, so not necessarily having intercourse, but just enjoying sleeping with someone in the same bed, right? This is the 12th house. 12th house is also given in the classics. It's your last wish before you leave this physical plane, is seen from the 12th house. And then losses and expenses, right? So this could be under beneficial influence, upcoming 2 weeks. Excuse me. So also dreams, right? So 12th house erodes the first house, as Vigdakara states, and I think it's such a great way of saying it. Erodes the first house, right? So it doesn't support the physical body, we could say, in that sense, right? So it's a good way of looking at it on a certain level. All right, it has to do with dreams and escaping, the worldly physical dimension, right? So in that sense, dreams, etc., and all these, far out, remote connotations. It's also, a house of research, right? You see, the 1st and the 10th are associated, and the 2nd and the 11th also, right? 1 and 1 is 2. So 2nd house is the house of, wealth, right? The 11th is also a house of finances, right? Gains. 3rd house has to do with, research as well. And the 12th house is numerologically the same, as also a house of research. You see how it plays out? So, for Gemini ascendant, 12th house there, all these things play out in the upcoming 2 weeks. For Cancer ascendant, it's happening in their 11th house. So new moon is happening in the sign of Cancer, new beginnings there. As Lada mentioned, starting new things on a new moon, if you can avoid it, just do it, right? Just wait for a couple of days until the moon enters Leo or Virgo, and let it evolve. Let it evolve naturally. Okay, so there's those two great inspiring, planets, Sun and Moon, and they are doing the dance. We just need to step back and let the alchemy happen. Okay, naturally. And from that moment on, a little later on, things start to build up again in terms of manifestation. Okay, because the moon does make things grow. Okay, so from Cancer, Taurus is the 11th sign. Okay, and So the 11th house, and the 11th house is an Upachaya house again. It's a growing house. It grows over time. That's what it means, and it's the strongest. Okay, it's the house of gains. That's what the 11th house is. Okay, it in the classics it is described as acquisition of various objects, which refers to everything that you desire on a material, worldly level. So you see, the 11th house lord, etc., is one of the great yoga breakers. For if spiritual development is not seen from the 11th house, for example, okay, because it has so much to do with worldly desires. So gains and everything that grows over time, like titles, recognition, right? Receiving a title, because the 10th house is the house of career, and then the second, right, which has to do with our wealth. The wealth from your career can express itself in a title, for example, getting recognition. Also, a larger social networks. Okay, the second house has to do, right? It's the second is your close friends, and then the 11th is numerologically also 2, has to do with your larger social networks, so people that connect you to a bigger part of the world, we could say. Also, domesticated animals are seen from the 11th house, okay, because it's a gain, right? So chickens give eggs, cows give milk. So farmers, people who work with domesticated animals, this could play out nicely there. So that's the 11th house, yes. And this is happening for Cancer, okay? So new moon in Cancer and 11 is Taurus there. So there should be some financial rewards or, fortifying of financial affairs, we could say, in the life path there. For Leo ascendant, it's happening in their 10th house. So the new moon is happening in their 12th house, which is, a hidden house. It has to do, with retreating from the world, and but the 10th house is up completely opposite that. So there is a lot of good potential for the 10th house, for Leo ascendant, to manifest in respect to their career, their obligations. Also, the 10th house rules being away from home, because it's the 7th from the 4th. The 4th is the home, 7 is long distance. So 7 from the 4th is the 10th house. And so it can signify that. Also, the actions of the father are seen from the 10th house. That's why it's associated with authority figures, okay? Status is also seen from the 10th house. But, most importantly, the 10th house has to do with your deeds. It's called, in Vedic astrology, it's called the karma bhava, karma meaning action, okay? So the great deeds you perform in the world are seen from the 10th house. Okay, so this is a very interesting time for Leo. Okay, so depending on the dashas you rule, it's gonna, and your natal positions, this is going to change the story. Obviously dramatically, but it can be. But this is general forecast, right? So, but good potential there. Okay, let's move on to Virgo ascendant. For Virgo, it's happening in their 9th house. This is a Dharma house, okay? 1st, 5th, and 9th are the Dharma houses, the inspirational houses. Good inspirational potential, we could say, because the 9th house deals with your fortune and your luck, and it's giving the bigger perspective, right? Eagle's eye view, the great teaching, great teachers, your beliefs. So everything that is bigger than yourself is seen from the 9th house. If you believe in God or in aliens or in whatever you want to believe in, is seen from the 9th house, okay? Also, it deals with, because it's a Dharma house, with pilgrimages, okay? If you want to see a concert the other side of the globe, then that is seen from the 9th house. It's pilgrimages. That's travel that inspires you, okay? 3rd house is short distance travel. 7th house is long distance travel. 9th house is pilgrimages, okay? And then 12th house is traveling beyond this physical plane. So for Virgo, it could play out like, like this for Virgo ascendant. Maybe receiving great teaching or something like that. Something inspirational. Also, the 9th house is the 5th from the 5th, which has child connotation. And also the ninth house is the house of marriage. Okay, this is also related to the seventh house as well. So a lot of the ninth house is a big house, right? It's fifth from the fifth. It's connected to marriage as well. Okay, and there's some other connotations. Okay, but enough for Virgo ascendant. For Libra ascendant, Taurus is the eighth sign. Okay, the eighth house. And the eighth house deals with our psychological integrity, becoming psychologically healthy. Okay, that's why the occult is also seen from the eighth house, because to become healthy psychologically, we need to go deep sometimes. Okay, we need to face our shadows sometimes and our dark, weak places, which are seen from the eighth house. The eighth house, first and foremost, is the house of life, your life force. Okay. Right. It's the house of intimacy. So the seventh house is the house of sex, and the second from the seventh is the eighth, right? So the wealth from the seventh, from the sex, is the intimacy, the bond that is created there. It's the eighth house. The seventh house is the spouse also, right? So the second, the wealth from the spouse, is the wealth from the spouse. So the money you get from your spouse or from other people. So taxes, refunds, etc. Okay, and inheritance is also seen from the eighth house. The eighth house is also battles. Okay, the court cases, like the battlefields, gang fights, fortresses, strongholds, is also seen from the eighth house. So battles. Okay, sixth house enemies, eighth house battles, 12th house the result of the battle. Okay, so there's a lot of connotations there for the eighth house. So it has so many. Eighth house is such an interesting house because it has so many layers. Okay, so there's the whole financial dimension, and then the occult dimension, intimacy, psychology, integrity. It's and that's why it's such an unpredictable point in the horoscope. Okay, the eighth can sudden ups and downs, we say, right? Sudden ups and downs. The occult, hidden things. Okay? So things that we cannot see, floating on the surface there. So it's tip of the iceberg. So very interesting house there. So maybe very interesting times for Libra ascendant as well. And Jupiter is there, blessing Libra for a couple of months, still a couple of months, right? Okay, for Scorpio ascendant, it's happening in their seventh house, house of relationships, one-on-one relationships. It's not only the relationship with the spouse; it's all one-on-one relationships. So business deal, business relationships, business deals, right? Seen from the seventh house. The seventh house has also a death connotation. Okay. It's the things that the first house is your body, and the seventh house is kind of the death of your body. It's the other body. Okay, so in that sense also it has some death connotation. Long distance travel, I forgot almost. Okay, so long distance travel also seen from the seventh house. So relationships, it's a big thing. There's a new moon happening in their ninth house for Scorpio, which, it's interesting, and to see simultaneously what's happening to Taurus there. Okay, this is happening for Scorpio. See, the seventh house is the house on which you project. The other is what you project, right? So all your projections are seen from the seventh house. So seventh house can also be this, we take comfort in, okay, it has to do with our relationships, right? But it's such a deep house. So if you just go a little deeper into the forecast and see what, because sometimes it's, when I look at a forecast or something, when I think about it, sometimes I have to make myself just go like, what does it really mean, this house, for example? Okay, like seventh house relationships, but in fact, it has to do with projecting. You're projecting your reality onto things and people, and it's not only one-on-one relationships. It's really a relationship with a big R, we could say. Okay, so how do you relate to the world? How do you relate in general is seen from the seventh house, and so because death connotation, right? It in there you sometimes need to find there's depth there, right? There can be depth processes revolve. That's why the 8th house is so close to the 7, right? The 7 is the house of death, okay? It's a Maraka house in Vedic astrology. The 8th is the house of life force, okay? So all interesting connotations there for Scorpio ascendant. Let's move on to Sagittarius ascendant, okay? For Sagittarius, it's happening in their 6th house. What is the 6th house? The 6th house deals with enemies, all sorts of enemies, injuries, cuts, debts, okay? Saturn is there, right? Been transiting there for quite some time now, and still, you know, till the end of 17 is transiting Sagittarius, which Saturn is the cleanser, okay? And so it's cleaning up the body, it's cleaning up the house there. And, you know, Saturn does quite well in the 6th house, actually, okay? Cleaning up, right? Because the 6th house is that, you know, it's the house of enemies, dealing with struggles. So that's, you know, like daily struggles, we could say. It's a house of intelligence, the 6th house. So in the 6th house, you become intelligent, solving problems of the world. It also represents the stepmother, for example. The maternal uncle is also seen from the 6th house. It's also associated with one pointed focus. Okay, so if you're into meditation, a strong 6th house, and I've seen this over and over again, that people with strong 6th houses, you know, often have you know, spiritual practices, you know, perform spiritual practice, etc. Okay, or in the healing business in that sense. Okay, being focused on that. So 6th house, 6th sign being Virgo, right, has to do with healing and self-improvement. So self-improvement, discernment, also, you know, big themes there for Sagittarius ascendant. Okay. And again, so there's manifesting a lot. You know, there's manifesting planets to it, all of them, right? Jupiter, Mercury, and the Lord. And there's the noble separator, Sun as well, and Mars being the 12th Lord, letting go of some old, you know, some old things in respect to Taurus there as well. So it's all happening simultaneously, okay? Then for Capricorn, it's happening for Capricorn Ascendant, it's happening in their 5th house. The 5th house is the house of consistency, the house of because it's, you know, its original 5th sign is the sign of Leo, which is ruled by the sun, right? The sun is all about consistency. The sun is a dry planet and consistent. It wants to create its kingdom, okay, and it has an element of sacrifice to it. That's why it's dry. It's dry because it can sacrifice its own personal needs for the kingdom, okay. The 5th house is the house of knowledge, okay. In the 4th house is the house that is below, right? It's the deepest point in the horoscope. It represents your heart, what is deep inside of you, okay. In the 3rd house, we develop our skills. Why? Because what is inside of us, we need to develop, right? And we do it via skills. And so in the 3rd house, we develop what is deep within us, represented by the 4th house. And in the 5th house, we're going to share what we learn in 3rd, right? We're going to share it over the 4th into the 5th and sharing it with other people. That's why the 5th house has a romance connotation. It's connecting hearts, okay, and expressing what you feel with others, okay, into a larger context than yourself. And so from that can, you know, grow children, of course, right? And creativity is coming from that. And, you know, also yantra, mantra, so amulets, we'd say, is seen from the 5th house. So the 5th house is, you know, the house of creative intelligence. It's a house of knowledge, okay? All right, so also I think speculation is seen from the 5th house, gambling, so all kind of, you know, all play, all that is playful, and okay, it's seen from the 5th house. Okay, so the 5th house is also a dharma house. It's an inspirational house, right? The 1st, 5th, and 9th houses are the dharma houses, inspirational houses. So this could, you know, at the same time, there's a new moon in their 7th house for Capricorn ascendant. Okay, so it's going to be interesting to see how these things manifest. And for Aquarius ascendant, it's happening in their fourth house. Fourth house has to do with the mother, right? Again, it's what lives within you deeply. It's the lowest point in the horoscope. It's what is called, it's below. So it is what is deep within you, and deep within you is your heart. So it's your happiness also, your quest for happiness. It's what you crave for. That is what the fourth house is. And so it's about nourishment, okay? And that's why the mother is seen from the fourth house. Your land, your homeland, what feels at home for you, your property, all, material extensions of that. Also vehicles is very important. See also from because see it's so like it's important, right? A vehicle to bring you where you need to be. Okay, so it's right. So it just helps you on your life path as well. So fourth house, and in respect to building up something for yourself, so your happiness, etc. So vehicles are seen from the fourth house. So maybe you because it's Rasi aspects there, it's Jupiter and Mercury, these manifesting planets. Maybe you purchase a new vehicle, etc. Okay, Venus also it's can be a car, it can be a boat or whatever. It's seen from there. Also, the deposits, your bank accounts is also seen from the fourth house. It's your fair share in life. That's what the fourth house is. Okay, getting your fair share in life. So interesting to see how it's going to play out there. For Aquarius ascendant, excuse me. Then for Pisces ascendant, it's happening in their third house. Third house is Upadesha, initiatory instructions, learning the ABC, learning new things. The third house is all that is difficult is the third house, okay? Self-will, applying your will is the third house. Having courage is the third house very strongly. Dealing with things that are not easy, like for example, it can be siblings. Okay? Employees are seen from the third house, and businesses, etc. And in that sense, also courage. Also deprivation of parents. So when something's wrong with your parents, or they're going through a difficult process, there could be some healing influences to them, right? Because of the benefic influence onto the sign of Taurus there. Also, as I mentioned, as I already mentioned, I mentioned in other video, short travel, short trips is also seen from the third house. The third house is your technical intelligence. So it's a house of intelligence, but it has to do with technical intelligence, like writing manuals, etc. is also seen from the third house. And all these kinds of businesses, like things that have to do with internet, is also seen from the third house. So, for Pisces, it could play out like learning new things, new skills, learning new skills. Venus there, Jupiter there, Mercury could have to do with music, because these planets are so creative, right? Jupiter is such an incredibly creative planet, and Sun and Moon obviously as well. They are the sattvic planets, right? They deal with your true inspiration also. They are so in the sign of Cancer there, creating something new. And for Pisces, it's happening in their fifth house. So creativity and relating to some technical skills, learning new things, is seen for Pisces ascendant. Okay, I think I got all signs right. So see how it plays out. New moon and the manifesting Taurus sign there in your horoscope. So I hope this is beneficial to you. I hope you have a great 2 weeks there. So again, it's happening between 21st of June and the 5th of July. So on a new moon, the moon will be transiting its own sign, right? Cancer. So giving it manifesting strength as well as the Lord of the sign. And Mercury is also aspecting being in there, transiting a Cancer sign. So there's a good manifesting potential to the sign of Cancer as well. Besides the fact that there's a new moon, there's also debilitated Mars there. But again, Mars will play its role. It is giving energy, but it can rather it can do it in a kind of emotional way. Just, not its best condition there, okay? But it's going to have some effect, of course, right? It is Mars. It is this influence. It is a unique influence in the zodiac, right? And it's not a bad thing. It's just that within our consciousness, it could play out. There could be some irregularities or some unbalances in respect to what Mars represents. It doesn't have to be a bad thing, but if you, at least if you're conscious of it, it's interesting to see what happens when planets get exalted or debilitated or whatever condition they're at, what it does to you, how it reflects on you in your personal life and your consciousness. So in that sense, okay. So all the best for you, and talk to you soon. Bye.